This podcast is sponsored by Release Winery. Join us as the story of this ultra-limited wine continues. Learn more at releasewinery.com.
My wife was really happy that we finished all of our pressing off and I could spend a little more time at home. And it's been a good postseason wrap up. The wines are going through ML and that's going really nicely. About half of our wines are done with secondary fermentation, and so it means we're just topping today in the cellar and things are a little more mellow. We actually had the earliest harvest I've ever had in my career this year to start. We got our Sauvignon Blanc in on August 6th, and that is incredibly early. But it was a small crop that got ripe really fast, and we couldn't wait. It was 23 bricks, and it was time to go. And so we harvested that, and then 10 days later we bottled, which we normally try to do before we harvest. And then we were off to the races. We want that Zinfandel to stay in barrel for as long as it can, but we like to bottle it on that 1 year time frame. And so we always bottle it kind of in the middle of August. And we like to think that gives us enough time to get it done before Sauvignon Blanc starts coming in. But then you run into one of these early years and it all like compresses together and you're doing it all at once. So. I grew up in Connecticut, or at least went to middle school and high school there. And by the time I graduated from high school, I was kind of ready for a different place and a different adventure. And was going off to school to become a PhD and, go do cancer research or some other, gene therapy research. And NC State had an amazing biochemistry program. And so that's what lured me to North Carolina State to get my undergrad in biochemistry. Oh yeah, it was just like that.
Overnight. Yeah.
When I went to college, I thought I was going to go get a PhD and go into research field. As I went through college, it became clear that PhD students were not the happiest people in the world. And didn't get to spend a lot of time in the outdoors or really pursuing their interests, which are things that are important to me, as well as academics. And so it became clear to me that probably wasn't going to be a really fulfilling life path for me. So after I graduated, I actually had gone back to working for a restaurant that I had worked for while I was in college. And one evening, we had a winemaker come out for a pre-shift kind of training. And, we're sitting there in that pre-shift training, and we're tasting these wines. And, he was kind of talking about the wines. And, I just kind of thought, this could be something that I could do that would be an applied science that I might really enjoy, because I've always really loved and enjoyed wine. And so I went up to him and talked to him and kind of said, this is where I'm coming from. Would this be a career that would be reasonable? And he was very encouraging, and he said, after biochemistry, wine science will be relatively mild for you. Yeah. About a year and a half later, I moved here to Napa Valley and started my path in the wine industry. And that was in 2005. I've been winemaker here since the 2015 vintage. Right as we finished construction on this brand new winery facility, they hired me, and it was a pretty tight start. Hired me in basically the end of July, and 2015 was another warm and short vintage that started quickly. And so basically, right about the time we got our occupancy permit and got our permanent power from PG&E, the crop was kind of ripe and ready to go. And so we hit the ground running, and it was a pretty hot and heavy harvest that year. So that was another very early harvest that finished very early as well. I'm sure, as talking to other winemakers, it's a whole year of investment in the vineyard too. We're not just invested in the wines that we make, we're invested in the grapes that we grow, especially at a winery like Titus Vineyards, where we have so much estate vineyard. It really drives the heart of everything that we do. We're replanting, so to make up that crop, we have some fruit that we buy on the fringes, but really the estate drives the whole program. And so once it comes to harvest, it's not just a culmination of the winemaking, it's a culmination of the wine growing that we've been doing for an entire season. And, that's, it's a really important time to, come to fruition, all of that work. We're about probably 80%, 75 to 80% estate. I'm sure as you saw on the way in, we are replanting sections of the vineyard. Some of that replanting is due to age or virus load. Sure. Most of our kind of the existing older part of the vineyard was replanted between 1997 and 2001. And so those vines are starting to get into, the period where they're maybe not as productive or not holding on to the quality that we would like to see. And there's just viruses that were inherent in those clones and rootstocks that we got at the time that we would like to get out of the vineyard and bring in newer clones that are kind of more fitting to the area that we're growing the grapes in, and that are also clean from virus material. So we make all 5 of the traditional Bordeaux varieties. We have a Napa Valley Cabernet, a Reserve Cabernet, and then we make a Cab Franc, which is a program that we've been doing for a really long time. It's kind of like tradition here at Titus now. And then we also make a Malbec and a Petit Verdot. Eric and Philip Titus, their dad is the guy that originally bought the property here for the Titus family. And they believe that he is actually the first person to plant production Malbec in Napa Valley. And it kind of started out as like a bit of a lark by him. It was a small plot of like an acre and a half. And, they say like that he decided to make that planting, and they were kind of like, Dad, what are you doing? And he was like, I think you're going to be happy with this. And in the end, it turned out when it came to blending the wines, especially the Cabernet, the Malbec it fit in seamlessly. It's beautiful. The aromatics that it brings to the table, the body and the texture that it provides is perfect for us here in St. Helena. And so we decided to start making that as a production wine in 2012, once we had some more planted here and we're getting enough that we could turn it into its own wine. The biggest mentor I have is Philip Titus. He's, obviously he's one of the owners here at Titus family, and he's also the winemaker at Chapelet Winery. And that's where I first met him. I had, worked at wineries here I'd worked at Hall Winery for 2 seasons here in Napa Valley. And then I'd taken a year abroad and worked at, wineries in New Zealand and in France and in Germany, and came back. And then I got a job at Chapelet. And I worked there for 3.5 years. And I really learned the practical, ins and outs of winemaking from Philip at Chapelet. And then obviously, he gave me my first opportunity to be a winemaker here at Titus Vineyards. When the winery was being built, he called me and he was like, we want you. And we'd had such a good experience together at Chapelet that he wanted me to come to Titus. And through the last, it's been 7 harvest seasons, hard to believe. Our relationship has grown, and it's a lot of guidance, and we can work together, and it's turned into this great kind of communication that I think wouldn't have been possible 10 years ago. But he's been amazing. We are open for tastings 7 days a week. We are by appointment only, and people can visit our website, www.titusvineyards.com, and see the array of tastings that we offer. And they can make an appointment there, or they can call us at 707-963-3235, and we would be more than happy to help them get set up for an appointment.